Welcome to Lizards of the Toast, my friends, and we have a very special deck. I've played against it probably 12 times, and I have to say this deck is a nightmare. Whatever you're playing against it, so far my favorite decks to play against this when Ashley pilots this, because this is a variation of one of her favorite decks, which is the Mono White Human Fund. But this is way better because this one has been upgraded for Modern in 2024. And no energy synergies involved here, but this is a nightmare deck. I would almost call it a hurry up and wait, here come the taxes. But interesting enough, let's not start with the creature base for a change. So let's start with these important instants that are in the main deck. So we have Orum's Chant here, and this was a card I was so excited to see reprinted, I must say. I picked up a few of these. We have Orum's Chant here for 1 white. Target player can't cast spells this turn. If this spell was kicked, creatures can attack this turn. So the dual usage of that, let's say on turn 1 you play, and then your opponent goes, and then you hit this, don't kick it, sorry. You play this on your opponent, that's why we have 4 of these, so we can stop their second turn from even happening. Target player cannot cast spells this turn. A couple of these in hand can already set our opponent back a little bit. So of course we're running 4 of those instants. Put those aside here. And we have Ephemerate. Oh, what is this? What is this? Oh my goodness. We have Ephemerate. Exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. And it has Rebound. In Rebound, if you cast this spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. So something we're going to exile and bounce it back. So we'll talk about that in a second. Now we have Mana Tithe here. This is another great spell here. We'll explain. If you play mono white, there is sometimes a drawback to Path to Exile when you don't want to give your opponent a land. And sometimes Path to Exile is good because getting a land isn't bad for us if we want to exile something. But Mana Tithe can be very annoying. So if somebody's trying to cheat something, trying to go off as it is with a Storm deck or something, you can counter a spell, counter some big drop that someone's doing unless they pay 1. So that right there is very annoying, and it goes along with the flavor of the deck very well. So those are our instants that are in the main deck. Now let's get into these sorceries. I think there's just a few sorceries in the main deck. All right. Okay, perfect. All right, we have Gather the Townsfolk, and this can be horrible. Put 2 1/1 white human creature tokens onto the battlefield. If you have 5 or less life, put 5 of those tokens onto the battlefield instead. And it happens at the worst times, like when you're playing a burn deck. This was so annoying. Oh my gosh. 3 of those in the main deck, and there's none in the sideboard. Now, Force of Virtue, speaking of annoying, right? Force of Virtue, if it's not your turn, you may exile a white card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. And it has Flash, of course, because it's an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. So you can basically give your creatures a pump by getting rid of something you don't need in your hand. And we're going to only have white cards in our hand. So 1, 2, 3 of those. We have 3 free spells, and that makes it worth it, I think, to not run blue, because the thing we got going on here with Mana Tithe and Orum's Chant is kind of like a very blue-centric thing. And we don't play blue on this channel, right? We don't play blue around here. So let's talk about this creature base. And why is it so thickly creatureful? Because these creatures play a toolbox role. They certainly do. We have Champion of the Parish. And unfortunately, I heard that he passed away. And is now Champion of the Parish. We remember Champion of the Parish well, but currently zombie players are enjoying Champion of the Perished. that out of here. All right, that's an Eldrazi holding a donut sitting in my lap. That thing is bugging me. Creeping me out, man. All right, Champion of the Parish. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of the Parish. So that is wonderful, and we can begin to see what Ephemerate will do there with this particular creature. So that will get big quickly because plenty of humans are entering the battlefield, and that's 1 mana there. So this legendary human soldier is Kithion, Hero of Aggro. And it's looks like a very, very pompous young man there. At end of combat, if Kithion, Hero of Aggro, and at least 2 other creatures, which they will, attack this combat, we will exile Kithion and return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. Now, 2 and a white, Kithion gains indestructible until end of turn. So, we get Gideon the Battleforged. It comes with 3 loyalty counters. We can immediately +2 it, so up to 1 target creature an opponent controls attacks Gideon Battleforged during its controller's next turn if able. You can +1 it until your next turn. Target creature gains indestructible. Untap that creature. And for 0 until end of turn, Gideon Battleforged becomes a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible that is still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. So kind of like the other Gideon that is a 3 or 4 drop planeswalker. I think we have one right here, actually. What is it? Yeah, Gideon Blackblade. Kind of like Gideon Blackblade, which sometimes finds its way into the sideboard. So we have 2 of these. It's legendary. Very good to get that ability. Very good to get that planeswalker as well. And it is very frequent to get that to happen. And plus, it's a 2/1 for 1 at the end of the day. So Thalia's Lieutenant. Now, this is where the real fun begins. So when Thalia's Lieutenant enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other human you control. Whenever another human enters the battlefield into your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Thalia's Lieutenant. So we ephemerate this. That is just going to fill our humans with +1/+1 counters. And it's pretty quick to happen, too, because Ephemerate is 1 mana. This is so low to the ground, right? So that's why we kept Ephemerate around, so we could talk about that a little bit. So we want things like that to happen. We're definitely running 4 of those. Now, to create further taxation on our opponents, as it were, we have the Coppercoat Vanguard, which I was surprised kind of saw its play drop off. Because it seems like I love the 5-color human deck. I gotta say it. Excuse me. And I thought, man, it'd be fun to do one without blue. But that's the future. I digress. Coppercoat Vanguard. Each other human you control gets +1/+0 and has Ward 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So, we have Thalia herself, or Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. 1 and a white. First strike, non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. That's not fun. And we need to know when to place this and when to hold it, when to use it, and when to not use it. So there is 3 of these in the main deck, but they're the first to be sideboarded if we're dealing with some creature-heavy deck. Here's a new guy. Or I think it's a robot person. I don't know. It's a Metastic Evangel Phyrexian Human Cleric. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate, my friends. So the counters, the counters, the counters. And we're going to do a gold fishing video to showcase those counters. So we have 1, 2, 3 Metastic Evangels. And I don't think I've seen these sideboarded against anything yet because I've had them cause real problems. So we're going to be doing videos this weekend and later in the week with this deck versus some of my best decks. And hopefully by next week we will have the new bad boy ready to show you guys. But again, I digress. So we have Imposing Sovereign. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. 1 and a white. How annoying is that, right? Does anybody remember playing this in 2014? This was all over the place in humans. In standard, I should say. So, we have Grand Abolisher. And again, during your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. So, that is very fun. Because that, again, extends the fluffy border of our pillow fort. All right, now here we have our other wonderful legendary lady here. We have Adeline, the Resplendent Cathar. A Cathar. I think we've talked about that before, but the Cathar's forward-thinking group of people murdered in the 1300s, I think. It's spelled just like it. So we have the Resplendent Cathar. Adeline Resplendent Cathar's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. Whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. So she is wonderful in the deck because when you're going to lay her down for 3, not only will she probably be able to get counters herself, she will have very high toughness at that point. Or I'm sorry, high attack power, because there will be a large group of people on the battlefield. So running 3 of those to go along with Thalia. Now, let's talk about this mana base. We have planes, and look at that. Isn't that beautiful? This is not my deck, by the way. And I had very little input in this. It's just I played against this for a long time. How Ash always uses the mono white, and she loves the mono white humans, and she plays it real good, real mean. So we have 2 of these cool lands. I wonder where she got those. Who got those? I didn't get to have one of them. She got both of them. Can you believe it? All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, now let's talk about our non-basic lands, which are in 11 non-basics. So Minas Tirith. Legendary land enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. We have a few, so we probably will be. But that's why we only have 1 of Minas Tirith anyways. Tap, add 1 white. And then 1 and a white, tap, draw a card. Activate only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn. So that's going to happen a lot in a deck like this. Now, Mutavault is really cool in this deck. And honestly, I think 3 in here would be great, if not for like some of the heavy white cost of the deck. It's just kind of risky to have a card that just produces colorless like that. So tap, add 1 colorless, pay 1. Mutavault becomes a 2/2 creature with all creature types until end of turn. It's still land. So essentially, Mutavault enters the battlefield as a human. So there's 1, and there's the other one. All right, 2 Mutavaults. Castle Ardenvale. Oh, look how pretty it is. Isn't that beautiful? And you'd think it'd be way cooler, too, for what it is. But Castle Ardenvale enters the battlefield tapped unless you control planes. Of course, we will be. Tap, add 1 white. 2 and 2 white. Create a 1/1 white human creature token. So basically, it's a mana dump right there, but everything will get a +1/+1. And probably more than just 1/1/+1, because those things fire off. I cannot wait to show you guys how they fire off. So we have Sunbaked Canyon, 2 of those. Sacrifice Sunbaked Canyon, draw a card. And I don't know if she's got anything red in the sideboard, to be honest. I'm actually excited to look at the sideboard. We have Iganjo Castle. Tap, add 1 white to your mana pool. Oops, excuse me. Pay 1 white, tap, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature this turn. That's really good. That is really good. Because that can save... What are our targets? We have 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe I think 10 targets for that if the sideboard is as I think it is. So let's explore that sideboard now. And before we explore, let's look at some of these cool soldier tokens. Theros, Ikoria. Look at that one. Oh boy. All right, what else do we got in here? Oh, look at that. There's Thalia herself. All right. Now here we go. Oh, all right. We got the Winter Moon. I see where that was going. I had a feeling. I remember I think I opened that up the other day on the mail, and I was thinking, I know I needed one, but there was 2 more on my order sheet. So players can't untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap steps. Fun. 1, 2. We have Damping Spear. If a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces a colorless instead of any other type and amount. Each spell a player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell that player has cast this turn. Hurry up and wait, my friends. 2 Damping Spears. We have the sideboarded Thalia. I was wondering if she'd still be in here. First Strike. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. We've met Thalia. We like her. I think I do like that artwork. But it's weird. It's got like forest border on it. You know what I mean? Looks kind of like the root place in the Dark Souls game, the 3rd fire pit. All right, Path to Exile. Exile target creature. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card. Put that card into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. We don't like to do it. We don't like to use it, but sometimes you got to use things you don't like. And like it says, exile target creature. Its controller may search your library for a basic land card. So that can be us if we're mana blocked. 1, 2, 3. Now here is Sanctifier Envy. Sanctifier Envy. Protection from black and from red. So we know where we want to put this. When Sanctifier Envy enters the battlefield, exile all cards that are black or red from all graveyards. If a black or red permanent spell or card not on the battlefield we put into a graveyard, exile it instead. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's the 2 right here. They always seem to be a problem when I play Burn. We have the Beloved Princess. It's a 1 mana 1/1 with lifelink. It's a bulk. I've played against it since it came out, pretty much. Basically, it can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, and it gets huge. So that gets to be a problem with the lifelink. And then there's one of these March of Otherworldly Light for X in a white. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of white cards from your hand, and the spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. All right, nice. So there's the sideboard. And obviously going against a Burn, a couple of those would be good. Anything where you want to do more artifact hate, just have like something nice to get as a 1 of in your hand. And let's see here. I think these are all pretty self-explanatory. Just more taxation there. So that is the deck. So I think what we're going to do is we'll post this video, and then we'll go ahead and work on a little gold fishing, and then start thinking about what decks are going to go against this in the coming days. Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy this one. And I still think this is a pretty good budget on this deck. We will be putting a link to it because we do not have one at the moment, because the deck is not on anything, because it is just put together now. Basically, like, it was kind of on the back burner. We were playing against it. Our matchups were recreational, as it were. We were playing for serious, not on camera, you know what I mean? So, rather than try to explain it, I'll just show you what this does. And we shall go ahead and get right into that now.